The Batman was excellent, and Matt Reeves filled it to the brim with Easter eggs, hidden meanings, and nods to other movies. So let's go from beginning to end and see what we can find. And warning, 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 major spoilers right from the get-go. Here we go. The movie opens with a POV of someone who turns out to be the Riddler looking through a mask set to Ave Maria. First of all, this Batman film is heavily inspired by Batman comic book series The Long Halloween, and it starts on Halloween, so it would make sense that the first shot would be a nod to 1978's Halloween with a continuous POV shot through a mask of a kid stabbing a family member. And why Ave Maria? Because of Riddler's plan to destroy Gotham with a flood, just like Noah in the Old Testament. But Batman thwarts his plan and instead treats it like a baptism of Gotham and himself, turning Riddler's punitive Old Testament punishment into his own forgiving New Testament justice. I told you it was chock full of symbolism. There's Riddler, and his costume, like many aspects of his character, was inspired by the Zodiac Killer. Zodiac went around in a black hood, dressed in black, with an insignia on his chest, just like Riddler. Check out this news article on Mayor Mitchell's wall. It's about the arrest of Sal Maroni, a crime boss who debuted in Detective Comics number 66, who's most well known as the man who scarred Harvey Dent, creating Two-Face. The grocery store that gets robbed in the opening is called Good Times, which seems innocuous unless you saw the movie Good Times starring Robert Pattinson, which was the reason Reeves wanted to cast him. And if you had any doubt that this is a nod to that film, the robber is wearing the exact same outfit as Pattinson did in the movie. Matt Reeves, you sneaky so-and-so. It's always raining in this version of Gotham, which feels a lot like one of David Fincher's best films, Seven, in which it rained so much that Brad Pitt slipped and had to do half the movie in a cast. David Fincher also directed Zodiac, so it makes sense that Reeves would draw inspiration from his movies. Seven also involved a series of murders being investigated by detectives who don't realize that they're actually a part of the killer's plan. Batman emerging from darkness here was directly inspired by one of my personal favorite films, David Lynch's Lost Highway. Reeves has said that Lynch is one of his many inspirations, and Lost Highway has a scene in which Bill Pullman's character emerges from the darkness in much the same way.
That's f***ing crazy, man.
This is a motif in Lynch films, as you can see in others like Blue Velvet. I'm Vengeance made its first audible debut in media with Batman the Animated Series when Batman says,
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
When it comes to paper, the first time Batman refers to himself as Vengeance is in the comic Earth 1, when he responds to a criminal asking who he is with Vengeance. The gang of face-painted goons on display here could be a sign that Riddler was not Batman's first major villain he faced in this universe. Much like in Todd Phillips' Joker, the goons seem to be emulating a clown-like face-painted figure. And since this is Batman's second year, with Joker firmly jailed in Arkham, it could follow that Batman already disposed with Joker and now has to deal with the aftermath. After all, who the heck else is good enough to keep Joker behind bars? If you get a 4K copy of the film like I have, you'll notice in the bottom of the frame a newspaper reads, "Seawall construction stalled," which could be both foreshadowing and a reason why Riddler was able to plant explosives on such an important part of Gotham's infrastructure. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice that Riddler's greeting cards are a veritable who's who of Batman references. For instance, this owl is a nod to the Court of Owls from the comics, a secret society that tried to convince Batman that his father was actually a bad guy who started a development fund that was used by criminals. Sound familiar? Not only that, but the Zodiac Killer also had a thing for sending greeting cards, and one card in particular sent on Halloween was titled, "From Your Secret Pal," and Riddler's first greeting card opens with, "From Your Secret Friend," and it's got a skeleton on it. Also, this is what they think the Zodiac Killer looked like. Very similar. The Riddler has a very specific writing style that looks awfully familiar to me. Maybe it's a stretch, but as a big fan of his work, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm absolutely 100% sure that this style of writing is lifted from the man himself, David Lynch. If you've seen his paintings and short films, I have, you'll notice they are uncannily similar. This cipher here is another nod to the Zodiac Killer, because he also loved ciphers. Yep, pretty straightforward, which is ironic for a fact about ciphers. Here we see Wayne Terminal, showing us that in this world, the Batcave is actually an underground subway tunnel that had been abandoned under Wayne Tower. This motif was borrowed from Batman Earth 1, where Bruce uses an abandoned subway terminal under Arkham Asylum for the Batcave. Oh, and Kurt Cobain also says, underneath the bridge, right when he drives in. Alfred deciphering the cipher at the kitchen table here is likely another nod to the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer sent out 4 ciphers, and only 2 have ever been solved. The first to be solved was done by 2 regular people at their breakfast table on a Sunday morning when it was printed in the Sunday edition of the San Francisco Examiner. Just like Alfred here, except they didn't do it in a giant mansion. Now that we can scrutinize the movie frame by frame, the Riddler makes a surprise appearance early in the film. After Batman confronts the Penguin at the Iceberg Lounge, in a wide shot, we see Riddler watching everyone going in and out. Damn. Matt Reeves is a legend. Now we have another POV shot, except it's Batman's and not Riddler's. Matt Reeves draws many parallels between Batman and Riddler. They're both vigilantes in masks, they both write journals of their exploits, they both spy with binoculars from afar, they're both orphans, and as Riddler says, they're more alike than he knows. Okay, this might be a stretch, but this feels like another Lynch reference to me. Catwoman removing her wig as Batman spies on her reminds me a lot of Kyle MacLachlan spying on Isabella Rossellini in Blue Velvet. In that film, Kyle MacLachlan spies on her from inside a closet, and while he's in there, he sees her take off her wig and reveal that she's more of a mystery than he thought. In addition to the Zodiac-esque symbol on his chest, the Zodiac Killer was also known to start his communication saying, "This is the Zodiac speaking." Just like here as Riddler says,
This is the Riddler speaking.
I seen that guy too.
The Iceberg Lounge.
44 below.
Here, Catwoman references 44 Below, the real club within the club, a fitting place for penguins, as they can survive in temperatures ranging from 90 degrees Fahrenheit to negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we have another greeting card and another classic Batman foe, the mad scientist Hugo Strange. Strange is Batman's oldest adversary who used scientific methods to carry out his schemes. He's also one of the first Batman villains to learn Batman's true identity.
And good day to you, Batman.
I'm 6'3", so I love a good reach, but this is definitely another reference to the original Halloween. When Laurie Strode's friend gingerly gets in her car and Michael Myers is already inside waiting for her, she notices the window is fogged up, just like the DA. Then Riddler smashes him on the head and strangles him with his bomb contraption, just like Michael strangles the life out of that babysitter. So sad. If you freeze the frame here and put on your bat suits, there's a very Riddler Easter egg here, S397WD. What does it mean? Pause it if you want a chance to figure it out on your own. Need a hint? Batman debuted in 1939. Okay, amateur detectives, the license plate says S397WD. Looks like nothing unless you know that Batman debuted in 1939, then apply that to the S, and we see S is the 19th letter in the alphabet, making 1939. Then in the second half, the 7 can also be read as 4 plus 3, which is the 4th and 3rd letters of the alphabet, or DC, and WD is the 23rd letter of the alphabet plus the 4th, which is 27. So the license plate translates to 1939 DC 27, the year Batman debuted, and the comic number, Detective Comics number 27. Feels good to be the world's greatest detective. Now back to the video. Hey, another greeting card. Beautiful girl in a green outfit. Looks like the one and only Poison Ivy to me. The tiniest Easter eggs can be found on the street signs during the car chase. Robinson Bridge is a reference to Jerry Robinson, who was a ghost artist for Batman in the 40s. He's credited with helping to create Robin and claimed to create Joker, although Bob Kane disputes that. He would. Another moment that feels a lot like Michael Myers in Halloween is the car chase when Batman is chasing the Penguin. Just like Michael Myers, no matter what you do, you cannot stop the shape. I mean, the Batman. Look at this. Just put on the Halloween music and... it totally works! The label on Bruce Wayne's package reads 139 Kane Street, a nod to Batman creator Bob Kane. Another big nod to Batman from the 60s is the bust of Shakespeare in Wayne Manor, which is meant to evoke memories of the bust of Shakespeare Adam West used to open the secret passage to the Batcave. Okay, so after a second viewing, I couldn't help but ask, who is that woman who lurks around the Wayne Mansion with Alfred and Bruce? Matt Reeves has made his love for the 1960 Batman TV show very well known, and in this case, it seems to be a tribute to Aunt Harriet from the campy TV series. She is the paternal aunt of Dick Grayson, who was allegedly added to Batman because it was untoward at the time for two men to live together without a female presence. A man called Frederick Wortham wrote a book trashing comics called Seduction of the Innocent, which inspired comic book burnings, the implementation of the Comics Code, and Aunt Harriet because, according to him, comics were harmful to kids and a household of 3 unmarried males was too suggestive. So DC editor Jules Schwartz says they added Aunt Harriet to cool his temper, and also cool rumors that Batman and Robin were gay. And we all know that didn't really work. Aunt Harriet was also a member of the Gotham City League of Film Decency, which was an obvious dig at Wortham. In The Batman, the old woman is named Dory, so what makes it clear that she's a tribute to Aunt Harriet? Well, when she was introduced in the comics, they decided to kill off Alfred, just like what almost happens in The Batman. The next greeting card is just a pair of eyes, which seems vague unless you open your mind and remember the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland is often just a set of eyes, and also a Batman villain. Cheshire is one of the deadliest assassins in the DC universe with questionable morals. Or, the Cheshire Cat is also one of the bosses in the Adventures of Batman and Robin for the Sega Genesis. In the video where Riddler pushes his Thomas Wayne corruption narrative, we see a letter from the law offices of Miller and Moore, who both are some of Batman's most celebrated storytellers, Frank Miller and Alan Moore. Frank Miller injected heavy film noir influences into his work, wrote Batman Year One, which influenced this Batman film, and you might also remember him as the creator of Sin City. Alan Moore is best known for Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and Batman: The Killing Joke.
Your father was a good man. It was my job to protect him. Do you understand?
Alfred's casual remark here opens up a world of backstory that comes from another Batman comic, Batman Earth 1. This Alfred is a former British Marine who trained Bruce and taught him how to fight. In Earth 1, he lost a leg saving Thomas Wayne as he was a soldier, which meant he needed a cane to walk, and in the Batman, he's the first film version of Alfred to use a walking stick. Here we see Batman use a D-cell cable to run down a building, which is another nod to the 60s Batman and Robin, who would often scale buildings, except with the bat rope. I think they kept the bat rope right next to the shark repellent.
The shark repellent bat spray!
According to Matt Reeves, this scene was inspired by Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, when Chris enters the mansion for the first time. Nah, I'm just kidding. That movie didn't inspire anyone. Here we see Catwoman scratch Carmine Falcone's face with her claws, which gives him marks on his face, which mirrors a scene in Year 1. Just like in Year 1, those scars remain for the remainder of the Batman until he's shot by the Riddler. If this isn't a reference to Nighthawks by Edward Hopper, then I'll eat my own head. Riddler's name is usually Edward Nygma, as I certainly remember from Batman Forever.
And you are? Nygma. Edward Nygma?
But in the Batman, Reeves opted for Riddler's birth name, which was Edward Nashton. Despite opting for the more realistic name, we can see nods to Riddler's alternate names when he's apprehended at the diner. And here we have the final greeting card with a boy and his puppet, a nod to Scarface, a puppet controlled by a ventriloquist with multiple personalities. Arnold Wesker is the ventriloquist, and he murdered the man who carved the dummy in jail, and then they became like one person, with Wesker claiming his misdeeds are Scarface's bidding.
I told you I'd see you in hell.
Wait, he really does know that he's Bruce Wayne. He sent that card to Bruce saying, "I'll see you in hell," and here he is. Damn. Oh wait, that was the fireproof message for Batman. Damn. The substance Batman injects himself with looks an awful lot like the venom that Bane uses to get super strength. It has the same properties and does make Batman a lot more aggressive as he rearranges that incel's face with reckless abandon.
Where will you go?
Upstate. Bloodhaven, maybe.
Catwoman says she's going to Bloodhaven, which is across the bay from Gotham, which is where Nightwing, as Robin is sometimes known, sets up operations in his solo comic series. Could this mean a Batman sequel will involve the Boy Wonder? It's possible, since according to Batman lore, Bloodhaven is only about 30 minutes outside of Gotham, and at the opening of the film, the boy with half clown makeup on is Jay Licurgo from Titans, and since they're on a subway traveling into the city, it could track that they're coming from Bloodhaven, although the subway doesn't offer us any clues besides the fact that it's a subway and he's on it. Okay, if you didn't realize that the shadowy figure who laughs at Arkham is the Joker, then well, what are you even doing here? But Matt Reeves is not following suit with Christopher Nolan at the end of Batman Begins, where a Joker card signals his presence as the main villain in The Dark Knight. According to Matt Reeves, the inclusion of Joker at the end of the film is not an indication that he's going to be the main villain in the next film, which I'm honestly happy about. We need a good 10 years before another main Joker villain storyline on film. I mean, we've already had the best Joker we could hope for. Like, what a fantastic performance by Jared Leto. Just kidding. Okay, so I really like David Lynch. I get it, but just one more fact. Matt Reeves has commented that his Joker is going to be heavily inspired by David Lynch's The Elephant Man, starring John Hurt as John Merrick, a heavily disfigured sideshow performer from the 19th century. But even with the David Lynch nod, let's give the Joker a rest, shall we?